Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Night Files, a show where we look at various unsolved mysteries from around the world. I'm your host, Juhi Karnalkar, and today we're going to be looking at a decades-old mystery, one which has baffled investigators for such a long time. It's a case where 3 women disappeared seemingly without a trace, in which no evidence was found. This is the case of the Springfield tree. High school graduation, a time of anticipation, celebration, new starts. Or so it should have been before something somehow went wrong. On June 6, 1992, Suzie Streeter, 19, and Stacy McCall, 18, graduated from Kickapoo High School located in Springfield, Missouri. As young people are wont to do, the pair planned for a night of celebrations, attending various graduation parties. Their next stop was meant to be at their friend Janelle Kirby's home, with whom they planned to go to a water park in Branson, Missouri the next day. At the last moment, Streeter and McCall decided against this plan due to Kirby's home being crowded with out-of-town relatives for the night. Instead, they headed to Suzie Streeter's home where her mom, Sherrill Levitt, was also located. They were last seen around 2 a.m. on June 7th as they left for the night. Sherrill Levitt was a 47-year-old cosmetologist. Her plans for that night were considerably more quiet. In fact, around 11:15 p.m. on June 6th, she had phoned a friend to talk about painting an armoire. For what it's worth, it's assumed that Suzie and Stacy were able to make it to Sherrill's house that night unharmed, given that their vehicles were parked in front of the house. Almost everything seemed undisturbed in the Levitt Streeter home, which makes what happened next morning even more disturbing. The following morning, Janelle Kirby did not hear from Suzie or Stacy on the phone. With plans to go to Branson, Janelle and her boyfriend decided to meet them in person and see what's up. Maybe they had slept in or had a family emergency. The house was located on East Delmar Street and from the outside appeared normal except for one thing. The glass lampshade on the front porch light was shattered. Seeing this and wanting to be helpful, Janelle and her boyfriend swept out the broken glass and threw it in a garbage bin across the street. This would be a mistake. The front door was unlocked, and inside the only living being was Levitt's dog, a Yorkshire Terrier named Cinnamon. All personal belongings of the women were still there, even things you would have expected them to keep on their persons, such as handbags and cigarettes. Curiously, the purses of all 3 women were lined up on the living room floor, and the foot of the steps leading into Susie's bedroom. Cash still remained in Sherrill's purse. Suzie and Sherrill's beds appeared to have been slept in, further implying they were able to make it home that night before disappearing. The bathroom had tissue that wiped off makeup. Even a TV and VCR were left on in Susie's room, with no sound. Something had happened that had caused them all to leave home in a rush, but without a fight. Just before Janelle and her boyfriend were about to leave, the home phone rang. Janelle answered, thinking it might be her friends. On the other end was the voice of a mysterious man who made disturbing sexual comments. Janelle hung up. The phone rang again. The same voice. Janelle hung up, again, annoyed with what she believed was a prank call. She didn't know what to make of everything else. The day went on with no signs of the missing women. Soon, Janice McCall, Stacy's mom, grew worried. After phoning the Levitt home but receiving no answer, Janice decided to call on her daughter in person. She stopped by around 7:30 p.m. When looking around the house, she noticed that her daughter's clothes from the night before were still on the bed, neatly folded. Janice checked the answering machine to see if there were any messages or an explanation, but she accidentally deleted what she described as a strange message. She called the police from the home's telephone to report the 3 women missing. It had been around 16 hours since the women were last seen. Police were baffled by this case. Practically nothing was missing except for the 3 women. There was no clear reason for them to disappear or to have been abducted. The only sign of a struggle was a shattered porch light, from which evidence was now contaminated. As concern over the missing women spread, friends and family members visited the Levitt house before the police had a chance to fully investigate. It's estimated that the scene of the crime had been corrupted by around 10 to 20 visitors. It was going to be difficult to find proper DNA evidence, if any remained. Given the corruption of possible evidence, as well as the mysterious circumstances, suspects proved difficult to hone in on. Police looked into Susie's ex-boyfriend, Dustin Rekla. Suzie broke up with him a few months before her disappearance, and he had been involved in grave robbing and vandalism. Dustin cooperated with the police, however, and was ruled out as a suspect. Another suspect was that of Bart Streeter, Sherrill's son, who had previously fought with his mom and his sister about his drinking problems. After providing authorities with an alibi, however, Bart was ruled out. In 1997, one of the most promising leads came to light in the form of a Texas inmate, Robert Craig Cox, who was convicted for kidnapping and robbery. Cox said that he knew the three women had been murdered and buried and claimed their bodies would never be recovered. In 1992, Cox had been living in Springfield and, when interviewed, had told investigators that he was with his girlfriend at church the morning after the women disappeared, which she corroborated. However, she later recanted her statement and said that Cox had asked her to say that. When interviewed, he still maintained to know what happened, but said he'd reveal everything only after his mom passed away. To this day, he has not revealed anything substantial. In 2007, investigators received a tip that the women's bodies were buried in the foundations of a south parking garage at Cox Hospital in Springfield. After being scanned with ground-penetrating radar, it was found that there were three anomalies, roughly the same size, that were consistent with a gravesite location. The parking garage began construction in September 1993, over a year after disappearances. Despite this, investigators deemed the tip to not be credible, and the cost of digging up the parking garage would be too expensive. To this day, police have received up to 5,000 tips, yet the case remains unsolved as of March 2021. Theories on what happened are difficult to come up with. It's worth noting that neighbors did not hear anything on the night of the disappearance. One possibility is that someone noticed Suzie and Stacy driving back in the middle of the night and decided to follow them. Another is that someone could have impersonated an authority figure to gain entry and to get the women to easily comply. Finding a reason why this happened or why they were targeted is even more elusive. Unless more evidence comes out, most of this is pure speculation. Streeter and Levitt have been declared legally dead since 1997. Janice McCall refuses to do the same for her daughter Stacy. She says, "Until I know 100% that Stacy is deceased, I will never declare her dead. They're going to have to find some remains somewhere before I call her legally dead. It's not for any reason other than if I do, and she's not dead, think of how mad she'd be when she gets back." This has been the case of the Springfield tree, and I hope it's been an informative one. We want to hear from you and some of your theories on what exactly happened. Comment down below if you can. Otherwise, I'd also like to thank everyone for watching, and I hope you have a good night. This is Night Files, signing off.